bitches.
Alright, what's up guys? Back again with another tutorial. Once again, doing some experimenting. This time you don't actually see my face, because who needs to see my face when you can see me 3D modeling things? Today I am 3D modeling a self-watering plant. Started off as just a simple sketch on one of the whiteboards in my college's makerspace. Talked it through with the lab technician. You'll see later on, but I actually 3D printed this after I finished designing it, and I printed it way too big. All of these dimensions you see me taking now, I don't know what I was doing because they're maybe off by like 50%. Like this pot is huge. I wanted this to be a small hanging planter, which it still could be, but I'm gonna have to scale it down after I'm done printing the super massive one. I'm starting off by designing only half of the planter. And if you really, a better way of describing it is I'm not designing half of the planter, I'm designing almost like a pie piece of the planter. For this build, I'm going to really heavily use the Revolve feature. I'm going to get most of the planter's body done with just a single Revolve, which is going to keep my operations low and help the program run nice and smooth. You'll see here that I'm going through and offsetting things. This is going to set the overall thickness of the pot. I'm adding some extra lines, some diagonals on the inside. This is going to add some structural stability, help keep things nice and watertight. Also, since that's going to be revolved, that's actually going to be a curved, almost chamfered edge on the inside of the pot once it prints out later on. I think from here, yep, we're getting into the bottom portion of the planter. I don't know what the term for this is. I don't know, the coaster, the water basin. I'll call it a basin, that sounds right. This is going to be the section that's going to collect all the water that drains from the pot. I actually, I designed this one so I can water my plants from the bottom, because I also heard that it's better to water from the bottom than from the top. You avoid things like mold building up on the surface of the soil. Also, it's a good way of saving some of that water that naturally drips through the pot, and just collecting the water in general so I don't end up making a mess whenever I'm watering whatever goes in here. Especially with the giant one, because I'm probably going to put one of my Monstera in there. Or propagate a Monstera and put it in there. You can see over here, I am adding some curves. Again, I'm constantly thinking whatever I'm drawing here is going to get revolved. So what kind of shape do I want at the end? Doing it this way makes it so I already know that the sharp corners that this would have had if I had revolved it without adding these fillets, I would have had to go back in, hide bodies to hit all of those corners to round them off. But doing it this way makes it so I don't need to even bother. I know that it's going to be rounded all the way around. Save it. You want to make sure you're saving the project. I thought I had a separate folder for plants. I guess not. Adding some more rounded sections. The fillet tool is always your friend. Alright, so this sets up the initial profile, which is all you need to use the Revolve tool. You pick your faces, your sketch objects, you pick your axis, and look at that. Perfectly revolved planter. Technically, you could stop right there, put some holes in it, and you've got a planter. Of course, we're not going to stop there. I'm going to make this a lot more complicated, just to make it as cool as possible. So what I did just there is I made a cross-sectional analysis, which allows me to see the inside of the planter and see how those two hollowed sections fit together. This is going to make it really easy for me to go and add the holes for the top container section of the pot. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new sketch. Fusion360 is great because it lets you make a sketch on any flat surface. Flat regardless of whatever angle it may be slanted at. As long as it is a flat surface, you can make a sketch on it. It'll treat it as a plane. So I'm going through, I made some circles, made a pattern, and you notice that I let the pattern go onto this other side that's blank, because remember, that side isn't technically blank. I'm just hiding the other side of the pot. So we do need the holes going there as well. Then I add some more holes. These we're going to extrude. After selecting all of the holes that we just made using the pattern feature, I can extrude them straight down, and as you can see, it makes a perfect cut. I like doing a two-side just in case there's like some lip that might be missing. Make sure I fully cut through everything, and there we go. Now we've got holes, so now water can be sucked up through the roots of the plant, or drip down from the top if you start off with the top watering. You could do whatever with this planter. So at this point, you could technically stop and there would be your planter, but I want to make a small opening in the side so that way I can put in like a pipette or something and soak up some of the water that builds in the bottom. If I were, say, watering from the top down, I would let the water build in the bottom, then I would use the pipette to take out the water from the bottom basin and reuse it and recycle it for future watering purposes. So what you can see me doing here is, because I already had that cross-section analysis, I am able to do a similar thing to what we did to design the main body of the pot. I'm going through and I am making a sketch that is going to be revolved. The reason I'm revolving it is so that way it has the same curvature as the rest of the pot. Right here I am projecting lines. When you project a line, you can take essentially the shadow or silhouette of one of your 3D surfaces and project its shadow onto whatever sketch plane you're working with. In this case, I picked this flat surface of the pot. This is what's allowing me to go and design this little lip that perfectly fits the curvature of the pot. Now I'm designing a section that's going to be cut. So now I'll be able to revolve cut one of those and revolve and join the other section. So one will cut out the hole that we're going to use to get water out. The other one is going to make a lip so that way water doesn't just naturally pour out of there. So I think this one should be the cut. Works nice and easy. So now you can see there's a nice hole. You could easily get water out from there. But water could also spill. So I'm going to make another symmetrical revolve. Now I've got sort of a lip there, but I still need some extra walls on there. And this is just so when water starts overflowing from there, or if it happens to get too high, you should be able to see when the water is getting to too high of a level. Which I really doubt it will get that way unless you're really, really bad at watering your plants. You can see Fusion naturally gives me a tangent line snap, which is perfect, because a tangent line on an arc is going to make a really nice shape in the end. I trim off some of the excess, make some solid shapes, and then I'm able to finish joining those walls. As you can see, Fusion's really cool because it lets you just pull sketches to different positions. I pulled the sketch to a different spot. As you can see, I went and I added a little bit more to that just to make that as flush as possible. I actually think I ended up revolving this outwards rather than inwards, keeping that surface that's already flat. So I head over to the Revolve Tool, pick the surfaces. Oh, it looks like I picked all the surfaces, so I probably did revolve inwards. Okay. Revolve, it always defaults to a 360 revolve. It just assumes that's what you're about to do. I set it to join. Move the revolve. Make the walls just thick enough. I swap to new body. And new body is typically what I like to do just in case I want to mirror the feature. If I hit join, it would have fused to the basin, and then I wouldn't be able to use the mirror tool. Mirror tool means I can select the body itself and mirror it instead of trying to figure out how to revolve it on the other side. Join it all together, and now we've got a perfectly designed little pouring lip section. And what you saw just there is I deleted a face. When you delete a face, Fusion typically, I would like to say they, I don't know, like reformat your design. Sometimes Fusion will just fix things for you if you click a face individually and delete it. So surface imperfections can be removed from Fusion simply by just clicking delete. Mess around with some shapes there. Yeah, once I get towards the end of the main body for things, I like to just start messing around, adding some fillets to places. Some of the more organic curves definitely look a lot better. It also makes it a little easier on the printer. Some of your prints actually end up stronger because they've got some curves on them. 3D printers can do this thing called ironing, where they move over the same area enough times that it starts to like harden the filament a little more than normal. So adding some more complex curves will force it to do some natural Now we're gonna add some colors. It's always fun to add some colors to stuff. I know technically the pot that I'm actually gonna make is not gonna be made out of aluminum. And Fusion360 has tons of different materials that you can use to add appearances to things for when you're rendering, but I really just like making the things I design really, really shiny, so I always put aluminum colors. I mean, sometimes I'll put leather on them, or sometimes I'll put like a fabric or like a normal paint. That's only if I'm doing like a really specific sword, then I'm actually trying to match the colors of whatever my one reference image might have been. In this case, I'm making this up just off the top of my head, so I can make it whatever I want. So color-wise, I go with a kind of a bronzish brown orange for the bottom, a nice kind of wood-colored tan for that upper body. Now we get to a really fun section. This is one of the more complicated tools to use in Fusion360, so hopefully I explain this in a way that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the emboss tool to try to emboss a pattern on the pot's outer surface. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to create a tangent plane. The tangent plane, you can make a tangent plane tangent to any, I guess, circular or radial arc. In this case, I just picked any of these faces. It really doesn't matter because it's a tangent plane. Then on said tangent plane, you'll draw whatever you want to eventually emboss. In this case, I chose a kind of vine-like ivy pattern, which I have no reference for. I'm just freehanding this. That then gets embossed. Yeah, this section here is really just line art. In my head, I have a kind of idea as to what I want this ivy to look like, but I have no kind of reference for this. I'm just making it up as I go, having fun with it, accidentally clicking tools that I didn't mean to. got the leaves and the vines all to a spot that I think I enjoy and I'm happy with. I use the emboss tool, which as you can see doesn't work the first time. No idea why it doesn't work, it just decided to not. But eventually I do get it to work. I think I just like closed the thing and tried it again. But the emboss tool allows you to take a sketch object and similar to extrude or press pull faces, it allows you to extrude relative to a curved surface. So yeah, what I found was it wasn't working until I separated the vines and the leaves and the vines. So here you can see what happens if you try to emboss just the leaves. It extrudes them, but it has them match the curvature of whatever face they're projected over. Same thing with the vine, and look at that, perfectly lines up, embosses whatever design you put on that tangent plane directly onto your curved surface. Now from here, I went ahead and once again found some aluminum colors, changed those up. There's only an alteration to the faces. Decided to go with kind of a deep green color. Now rather than making more tangent planes and trying to put those in the spots they go, just use the pattern tool. You can change from objects to features or sketch objects. So in my case I used the circular pattern, changed it to features, and the features, I just chose the two emboss features from the timeline. Now this step here is just me messing around to get the vines to perfectly connect, so it looks like one seamless vine running all the way around the planter. As you can see, Fusion does this really cool thing where it live updates relative to what things are linked in the timeline. So this sketch was linked to all of the different embosses that were done. So by moving the sketch object, Fusion auto updates everything that was reliant on that in the timeline. So by moving the sketch up, it moves that section of the emboss up. So I pretty much just mess around with this until I get it to a point where I can get them really close to connecting, and eventually I do get it. So here you can see I made a copy of the vine sketch to really dial in this connected piece that I'm trying to set up. Because I really just want this to look like one continuous vine running around the entire planter. So I copied the body from the sketch, now I'm drawing in the piece that needs to connect. Once I get that to a nice spot, I will delete the rest of the body because now I know that this is roughly the distance it needs to be, so when the emboss completes itself, it goes all the way around. I haven't tested it out, but I might actually have just been able to take the circumference of the planter and just make my drawing that long and then emboss, and then that might have made it flawless. But I am unsure. As you can see, instead of deleting the other lines, I turned them into construction lines because construction lines have no effect on your actual drawings. You can also see that the emboss needs to be edited though. Not both of them, just the one that had the vine in it. I need to add that feature in. And once I add those extra sections, Fusion will automatically update. Now I only have to do a couple minor alterations to make these sections line up perfectly. Looks pretty good to me. Didn't have to do any changes on the other side because it's just a perfect loop now. And there we go. We've got our inside, got our basin, got our embossing on the outside, we've got a spot for water to go through, and now we can print out a planter.